Welcome to the Help for Leaders podcast. I'm Stacey Harris, and I'm passionate about showing leaders the power of communication and how it can transform their organizations, from Fortune 500 boardrooms all the way to brand new startups. As a leader, your actions and your words transform people and your company culture. So join me as I share tips and insights for elevating your leadership abilities as well as your team's performance. Let's dive right in. Communicating with the high C, precise individual. That's what we're going to be talking about today on the Help for Leaders podcast. I'm Stacey Harris. I'm so excited that you're joining me today as we wrap up a series in communication. We've been talking with a roundtable discussion of a team, and then I've done one-on-ones with each individual. And today, Claria is joining me at the table. So excited to have you here. So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
So I work at Increase U, and I am the projects manager and the operations administrator. So I'm kind of the organizational, keep everybody on task, kind of make sure that we're not getting overloaded, making sure that projects are kind of spread out and kind of staggered so that we're not overwhelmed, and just kind of keeping everybody on task and keeping everybody sane. I'm the planner.
The planner, which is great because look at Claria's style. So high C, high S style. So she's got a lot of that precise behavioral style, also that steady, stable style. So we'll probably hear both of those as she's communicating, but very low I, very low D in your style. So you like to take a little more time to process information.
I do.
And so I've given her all of the questions in advance so that she knows. So she has been able to prepare for this conversation. And so that's me flexing to her style. So first of all, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about, in an ideal world, how you would prefer people to communicate with you based on your style.
Yes. So I am an email person.
Email. Okay.
I like emails. I was telling Caleb just the other day, when the phone rings, we have this certain ring on the phone, and when it rings, like, my heart drops. Like, oh no. Like, I have to kind of get out of this and like turn into an I. I have to flex into an I, or I have to kind of like be ready to answer the phone. And I'm the kind of person who's like, if I'm going to have a phone call, I'd like to schedule it so that I can have what I'm going to discuss ready. It's a little bit harder for me to wing it. So emails with all sorts of details. I like that. That's my type of ideal kind of communication.
Okay, I love it. Because we've not heard that from any of our previous episodes. We haven't heard that. So very different. Very different. You're doing great, by the way.
Thank you.
So amazing. I realize this can be stressful. I mean, it can be hard because it is a little bit stretching outside of your comfort zone. Yes. So I'm trying to make it as...
I appreciate that.
Yes, absolutely. So let's talk about when people... So we talked about, how you like to receive communication. Mm-hmm. So what are your preferences as far as when people are communicating with you? Mm-hmm. How do you want them to, you said you like email so that you can have a written agenda. Mm-hmm. And so would you prefer people to email you? What's the preference in receiving communication?
Yeah, so preference would be to receive the email, or we have this kind of messaging program that we use that's kind of like almost like a text message but on your computer. So we kind of can quickly send little things like that, because I like written kind of things also so that I can keep track of things. Because if it's verbally said to me, it's kind of like if I don't write it down, or if there's not like a physical thing to refer to of that task or something, then it kind of floats off. Like, I have to kind of be able to have that. And then I do also, like I said, I like email so that I can take my time to process. So if they send me, even like in that messaging system, something like, hey, can I talk to you for 15 minutes real quick? I'm like, what is this in reference to? What do I need to prepare for? Do I need to bring my notebook? Like all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, that's ideally to receive. I love written communication. So yeah.
That's good to know. That's so important. Honestly, it's so important because you and I even have a working relationship. Yes. Claria is actually running all of the social media, all the posts that you see. This is the woman making it all happen. And so we email a lot. We text it a little bit, but email is kind of our main form of communication. And I didn't realize that that's your preference. So I mean, it's easy. It's obviously easy. You've heard me, though, in previous podcasts say that that's not the best form of communication. I will say in this kind of context, as far as specific tasks of getting things done, it's a great form of communication. Where it's not is when we're really kind of getting to a heart issue, really kind of delving into conflict or really having to solve a detailed problem. That's where face-to-face can help. But what I'm hearing from you say is, let me know in advance. Give me the agenda. What are we going to talk about so I can come to the table fully prepared for that conversation. Is that helpful?
Yeah, exactly. So when it's within the work stuff, if it's kind of more relational or there's a conflict or an issue, I do prefer the face-to-face because I feel like then I can because in my emails I'll come across cold. So I prefer the face-to-face because then they can kind of see my facial expressions and I can let them know, like, even though I am sounding harsh, like I'm intentional, like we're looking each other in the eye and it's not just the ice queen.
Yeah.
So, like,
the ice queen.
Yeah.
I love it. I love your self-awareness. Very good. Very good. Okay, so let's talk about time wasters. So what are some time wasters for your style?
Yes, so I am perfection. I'm very, like, everything has to be perfect. So I can get very zoned in on details, and Taylor, who's my administrator, he can kind of he's told me a lot of things, like
he referenced you in his episode. If you haven't seen Taylor's episode, he talked about you.
He did.
And I actually gave him a little bit of advice. I don't know if you heard
I must have missed that one.
But
he will tell me, like, keep it simple, like I even was just, like, editing something recently, and he saw me working on it for kind of a while, and he came over and he's like, keep it simple. You don't need to focus in on that. Like, it looks great. Like, kind of wrap it up. Like, and so he kind of keeps me from zoning in on that perfectionist, like, just all the details.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't need to think of the details in this situation. There are certain situations where, like, it needs a little bit more time, but for the most part, like, get it done.
It's so good. It's so good. I love that even you're leaning into team to help you kind of where you may be weak in an area, someone to come alongside and say, hey, it's okay. Because you're right. Your style wants it to be perfect and you want it to be right and you want all of that. And I mean, I appreciate that, obviously. Really appreciate it. But then there are moments where it's okay to let it go.
Yeah.
So good. So speaking of time wasters, are there things that you've learned as we've talked about communication and team building and about your style, both behaviorally and your driving forces, that you've learned to manage your time more effectively? Are there things that maybe you're doing?
Yeah, so because I'm a planner and an organizer, I've actually kind of done where I'm starting to do time blocks. Basically, like, I have my week and it's like, okay, on Mondays from this time to this time is specifically this. And at the end of that time,
I need to be taking notes. This is something that I need. Oh my gosh, as a low-C. Okay, keep going. I'm writing this down.
So basically, I kind of just, like, once that time's up, like, I move on to the next task. I might not have finished this, but now I need to give something else my attention. Because I can be that person where once I start to, like, zone in on something, it's just like, well, let me just keep going. And some tasks don't have a finish. And you've mentioned, like, tying things up with a bow. Like, I'm very much like, and we're done, and I can move on to the next thing. And it's like, no, I'm going to have to, I guess an example would be, like, opening up multiple window tabs on your computer. And it's like, I'm going to have some of these going at the same time and give this one some attention, then give this someone. And so I've kind of had, like, time blocks within my week so that I don't get distracted by certain tasks.
I could lean into some of that myself. Thank you. Spoken from a true high C. Oh, so good. So let's talk about flexibility, because you know me, and that's what I'm all about. Let's learn how to flex. Like, okay, I know my style. I understand the style of my team members, and I need to flex. So maybe share with us some wins, maybe some not so great things as well on style flexibility and what you've learned.
So the number one thing, like, that because I'm pretty new to the business, so one of the things that I wanted to bring was a lot of clarity, a lot of ease, and, like, kind of
I love it
peace
that your
within
name is
Claria.
I know.
It
actually means clarity. Yeah,
Look at that.
That's what it means.
I love it.
So I wanted to bring that when I came. And I could see kind of just like, there was someone who was going to be stepping down for a little bit, and I was coming in to sort of ease that. And so I, especially with the high S's and I's, I am bringing like structure, but at the same time, I have to also be intentional. And like I said, like pausing, like I might be like really focused on something, but I have to pause and engage like with Taylor with his high I and be personal and then, when he gives me a pat on the back, like I can't like, I'm like, yeah, no, that's fine. I'm like, bubble space, but at the same time, like, okay, like I have to like, shake the hands and give the hugs and pat on the backs. Like I have to like, be a little bit more engaged with that personal, like even with Caleb, when I can see he's getting stressed, like I want to come in and kind of ease that and then make sure that like a lot of the things that I do is I want to like kind of represent him. So when he doesn't speak up or something, like I kind of come in and like I represent and I'm like, nope, these are the boundaries we're going to set for him. And these are the things that we're going to do for him. So kind of just making sure that like he's being heard and Taylor's being engaged with and all that kind of stuff. So definitely have to flex into those.
So this is a follow-up question that I did not provide for you.
We're going off
script. I hope you're okay with that.
Yes, fine.
So how do you feel like at the end of the day when you have done all that flexing? Because I can see in your organization, you are flexing a ton.
Yes.
Because you are very different. I mean, I've seen your team graph. I've worked with the whole team.
Yeah.
That it's very different. So how does that feel? Like, are you energized? Are you exhausted? How does that feel?
I am very depleted. I like on the drive home, like there are times where I'm driving and I put music on or a podcast on my way to work, but when I'm leaving work, it's silence. And my commute's about 45 minutes. So I'm just it's like 30 minutes in, I'm like, oh, that's right. I'm not even playing any music. So it's kind of like that time to kind of decompress, and I like my time alone. Yeah. So there isn't like, even we were saying like in times of stress, I think at the table talk where I will like put my headphones in and just be like, nobody talk to me. I need to be alone, so that I can kind of like if it's in work and I know like, ooh, I'm reaching that I've flexed too much and I need to like, and I'm in the workplace, I can't like go home. Headphones is the signal to leave her alone.
She's in her office. Well, and you have a very open concept office
very
space
open concept,
too.
yeah.
So
everybody's right there.
Can't close a door to be alone. So I can see where the headphones help you go internal.
Yes.
And I can also imagine that alone time driving home is like recharging. I'm exhausted.
Yep.
So, wow. Thanks so much for sharing. That's so interesting. I hope you've learned something today as we've talked to this high C, high S style that's very precise and steady and really likes to take time to process information, likes a written plan, written format and communication, and understanding that we're all different. There's no best style. We're just all different. And when we can lean into those strengths of each other, we can absolutely enhance our communication. So if you haven't listened to our previous episodes, I've actually sat down with this entire team. So we did an episode where all 4 styles were at the table. I've done one-on-one conversations. And today's episode was our final episode in the series of communicating with the 4 different behavioral styles. I hope you've learned something. I know I have. It's been really informative. So thank you for joining me. And I hope you'll join me next week as we talk more about help for leaders.
Thank you for joining us today. You have the potential to communicate, engage, and lead with significant impact, and my goal is to help you do just that. Whether you're trying to get that next big promotion, scale your small business, or manage a team of thousands, there's always room for growth, and I can help you get there. Go to disc-report.com and find out what style of leader you are by downloading my free ebook on communication. Until next time, lead well and prosper.